You're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins, a Prospects Live podcast for everything MLB Draft related. Join us as we discuss the biggest stories from college and high school baseball, bring you interviews from your favorite draft prospects, and break down live looks with Prospects Live analysis across the nation. Get ready, because you're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins.
Alrighty, we are back with another episode of On the Clock by Prospects Live. I'm Jared Perkins, that's Tyler Jennings, and we have college baseball in the works.
I am
Games
so
are
happy.
going. We are so amped. We got week one, first weekend series is over. Tyler, how are you feeling after the first weekend?
Pretty excited. It was nice getting back to the field, even though everything went from, we had 31 walks on Friday night to it was 31 degrees on Sunday morning when I got to the ballpark. So had everything you would expect from an opening weekend. But I'm extremely excited to actually have baseball back in my life. And I just had so much fun with it, honestly.
Yeah, I feel that. I was on vacation, but I was still watching games. I'm now back from vacation. I have my non-alcoholic beer. It's very good. Also, no free ads, but one of the best non-alcoholic beers I'll ever have.
Athletic Brewing, sponsor us.
Mm-hmm. Athletic Brewing, if you're looking for a podcast you'd like to sponsor, how's it going? We're on the clock.
Let me get my Athletic Brewing Company beer then. Hang on, give me a sec.
We are in Monday when we're recording this podcast right now. We have some breaking news that happened today. JJ Weatherholt, West Virginia, shortstop, pulled from the game with an injury. Not what you want to see for what's basically the consensus number one overall MLB draft prospect. I think Kendall Rogers tweeted out that he's day-to-day with a hamstring injury. Unsure when he's going to come back. Don't know if it's really precautionary or if it's something more serious. What are your thoughts on that?
It sucks. We've talked about it in the past. JJ did have a hamstring injury that he dealt with last year when he was at Team USA. Didn't really run, and honestly, we didn't think he would make the team because of the fact that he couldn't run out of the box. But they tried him out a bit at second base, pulled him early, did the whole spiel with him. I don't know if this is the same hamstring that he injured over the summer. If it is, it's not necessarily a good thing, because if it's a chronic issue, that's not great on the medical report, but could be day to day, could be week to week. We'll see what happens, but obviously a big blow early in the season with a guy that, like you mentioned, that's a consensus 1-1 guy, at least for us at this point. I know some other guys have Kurtz 1 or Bazzana 1. I think at this point it's one of those three that's 1-1, but not having Weatherholt for at least a somewhat extended period of time is definitely going to be a big blow for West Virginia and just really college baseball in general, because this is a guy with some of the best bat the ball in the country, one of the best players to really play in the game right now. Essentially, it's a very tough blow.
Yeah, it's always hard to see those kind of injuries. The one question that I think probably comes to a lot of people's minds is, if he misses a significant period of time, how much will that hurt his draft stock?
Ooh, it really depends.
Yeah.
Like I said, if this is a chronic issue with the hamstring, that more than likely does kind of hurt the value a little bit. So I remember, for example, we had a kid last year who had quite a big history of injuries, and that does come up and it does scare teams off a little bit. I can recall a few teams left him off the board completely. Not going to say who it is, but that kind of stuff does get taken into consideration. If this is the same hamstring and it's a chronic issue, this is definitely a negative on his profile. But if it's just something that's small, and it's just a small little tweak, then I think as long as he doesn't miss like a month, I think he should be fine. But also at the same time, Langford missed a couple weeks, maybe a month last year with one of the more painful injuries I have heard of in my life, and he still got taken 4th overall. So, we'll see what happens. But it's really just all down to how much time he misses, and the aforementioned which hamstring is it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an unfortunate blow to West Virginia, and they also didn't probably start the season the way they wanted to. Went 2-2 against Stetson, split a doubleheader today. I think after they lost the game after Weatherholt got injured. They lost some close games, and so just not having that bat in the lineup, I think, is going to hurt the offensive production. But speaking of offensive production, there was one team this weekend that had a time of their lives. I put this down as the Duke mother effing Blue Devils. They just absolutely went off in the tournament that they were playing and beat a really tough Indiana team. They smashed all over George Mason 23-5, and then beat number 18 Coastal Carolina as well. Just you have to be happy if you're Chris Pollard coming out of that weekend series.
Yeah, not to mention 11 home runs in that game against George Mason. 11. I think AJ Gracia, this was his second career collegiate game. He had 3 3-run home runs.
Jeez.
Yeah, speaking of George Mason too, like that's a brutal start to the season. I think they have probably a negative 60 run differential now. Yeah. Because they didn't have good times against Indiana or Coastal. Speaking of that Duke team, considering we're recording this on the Monday night, anybody want to tell me why Duke isn't in the top 10?
They didn't even get bumped up.
No, I was
with
like
the new rankings.
I know D1. This isn't a shot at D1, by the way. I love the guys there. But if you're going to put Indiana into the top 25, I think Coastal may have been out too, but I know they're ranked in there now. Why not put Duke above like Clemson, at least at like 9? Yeah, at least that's just me like thinking out loud.
I thought D1 had Coastal at number 18 when I looked.
They may have. I think somebody had them 25. I can't remember who it was. Okay, but I instantly saw the Duke staying at 12, and I was like, really? They just crushed 2 really, really good teams, and then George Mason. Where's the bump up? You know? Yeah.
You think they get to at least 10, like go up 2 spots? Because they were 12, I think, right before the weekend started.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a shot at the D1 guys or any of the guys who do the list here. I'm just a draft guy. What do I know? But it was just curious to me that I saw Duke not move up, but then Indiana's now in the top 25.
Yeah, you would imagine that they would have to go up a little bit, but the one guy that really stuck out to me, Jonathan Santucci, absolutely disgusting against Indiana. Went 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks. Just what you want to see for his debut in the season. I think he was sitting mid-90s with the fastball. He was really had good command of his secondary. So it was just a fun game to watch.
Yeah, and like the start of that game, I think he kind of struggled to find his own a little bit. I think the first inning was pretty lengthy, but really he settled down right after that and looked really, really good. You mentioned held Davila the whole time. If we get Santucci like this the whole year, first rounder.
Yeah, definitely. We did have some upsets this weekend. The biggest one was Florida losing to St. John's. They lost 1 game. Unfortunately, the next 2 games were rained out. I saw some questions going around like, okay, what does that mean for Florida? Do they drop? Because they didn't even get to play their second 2 games due to weather. But they ended up losing to a St. John's team that they probably shouldn't have lost to. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not a good way to really start your season. But, no. You mentioned it's 1 game compared to, say, you're getting swept by St. John's. If you're swept by St. John's, as the number 2 team in the country, okay, you're going to drop down to at least 15th or maybe even lower than that. Considering we weren't able to see the remaining 2 games, there's still a lot in the air to how this Florida team is. So it's really tough to drop them from where they are. Because, like I said, it's just 1 game. But still like a really, really big upset on their part. And
yeah,
who knows? Like we didn't even see Cags throw. I think Cade Fisher started for Friday night, and then Cags was supposed to go Sunday. So yeah, we it really stinks because Mother Nature is obviously undefeated.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that.
Yeah,
but I got to give a shout out to the St. John's bullpen in that game. They had TJ Wynn Jr., Ben Adams, Sam Metteret, all combined 4 innings, no runs, just kept Florida off the board and helped them seal the victory. So props to those guys. Awesome win for St. John's. They're probably happy they didn't play those last 2 games, got to go home. So good win for them to start the season.
Absolutely. No, I'd be giddy getting on that team plane
100%.
heading home. Like, oh, hey, we only have to play one game. Cool, easy.
Yeah. Speaking of upsets, I have to mention this because I saw the awful tweet that James Madison University tweeted out after they beat Arkansas, but then lost 3 of 4 to Arkansas. They tweeted out, what was it, the bacon and eggs, like something for breakfast because Razorback pigs. And I'm like, come on, man. That's like you can't do that after just one win. You had one more game to play after that. You're just gonna give them fuel for the fire.
I think that was James Madison's either highest ranked win in school history or like their first top 5 win in school history or something. So like I get it. No, I'm not trying to say they were in the right for doing that. I think you have to have fun with your social media guys. And I'm very much pro fun.
I'm pro fun too, but I struggle. Like if that was a win, like in basketball, it's different, right? When you have one game and you beat a ranked team and you're not a ranked team, but you got to play a 4-game series against Arkansas.
Here's my take on it. Let them have fun. It's a win it's the highest win in school history.
Mm-hmm.
Like celebrate it. And then you get your ass kicked the next day. Like, that's just how baseball is.
Yeah.
I mean, good for them. That's a big morale booster, but pretty fun to see Arkansas kind of just dominate that whole weekend. Even with Hagen Smith only going 1 inning on Friday, that was a bit of a shocker for me. With how good of a preseason he's had.
There was some pretty rough starts for some aces this weekend. I know Campbell struggled. UC Santa Barbara's ace struggled. It wasn't pretty.
That was just a rough game to watch. For the record, the NCAA combined walks record for a game is 34. We had 31 in Bowie's Creek on Friday night. It was pretty rough to watch. I think Matt Auger had 4 walks. Derek Vartanian had 3, and he didn't last more than 3 innings. Auger only went 4, and then the bullpens kind of just really melted down from there. But being at that series, I don't want to say it was a result of a very tight strike zone. Admittedly, it was smaller than you'd expect, but there is just really not good pitching at all that Friday game. And it kind of continued into the rest of the weekend. UCSB's bullpen really struggled, and their starters didn't really last more than 4 2/3. I think Bremner was the longest start that they had all weekend. Mike Gutierrez looked really, really good for 3 innings, and then in the 4th just imploded. Hudson Barrett came out of the bullpen to protect the lead. He walked 5 guys. He walked 3 straight to open the 8th. It just, you expect more from a team that is praised for having this kind of arm talent. And you can see why they have this kind of, like, Bremner, we'll talk about it here in a bit. That's a first rounder next year for me. Auger is a top 3 rounder for me this year. Gutierrez, as much as he's a guy that's like upper 80s, throws 80 poo, really, really good changeup. That was a Bugs Bunny changeup. I think somebody even threw out the idea of like a Scooby-Doo changeup in the press box. But like it's definitely bouncing back from that 20-8 win, or the 28th loss to UCSB for Campbell was a really big motivation. UCSB losing Aaron Parker after a slide at home plate in I think the 5th or 7th inning of game 1 didn't help them at all, because he was a really, really big part of that offense on Friday night, and losing him to I think it was a knee injury, really did not help the cause for that offense, even though Zander Darby had 3 home runs on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that was impressive too, because like you think about it, as a team, you lose that first game, and you don't just lose it, you lose it 20-8, like you mentioned, and coming back from that and try to pull off 2 wins to get the series victory, that's huge for Campbell. Beating a ranked team and doing that as well is even more awesome. They got a lot of momentum now going into the next series.
Yeah, and this is a Campbell team that had so much turnover from last year too. They really got decimated by the draft. They had a lot of JUCO transfers come in. But like Zach Sabers did really well over 6 innings on Saturday. Cooper Clark, true freshman, by the way, Sunday starter, did really, really well against the UCSB team that has quite a bit of firepower in that offense right now too. Even without Aaron Parker in the lineup. Zander Darby, like I mentioned, 3 home runs over the weekend. Ivan Bretoir. Granted, he DH'd, didn't look great, but he's capable of absolutely pounding the baseball. There's other couple guys. Brandon Durfee did really, really good. Trying to think of another guy off the top of my head. Not trying to think. Not Aaron Parker. You can cut this out, by the way.
No, we're gonna keep it in here now.
No, you're going to be cutting this out. Is what you're going to be doing because my mind is cement mixing right now.
This is definitely staying in.
We'll add it to the blooper reel at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like that UCSB team's finally got the bats to be Omaha caliber, and just like I mentioned, Aaron Parker being out the last 2 games hurt them. And then of course these bullpen implosions really did not help their cases either.
Yeah, that was a good series. So now we've gone through a couple series. Just have a couple other stories we want to get into. I mean, the first we have to talk about it. Sacramento State's Matt Miscangelo got hit 8 times out of 12 at bats during this weekend.
If we're gonna leave my part in, I'm gonna leave that part in too.
Yeah, I'm fine with leaving it in.
Okay, cool.
I can't pronounce names. I admit that, and I own it.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. So little backstory with myself. We won a championship in Little League with me having the record for most hit by pitches in a year and in a game. I think I had 4 as the record. He just
Tyler.
Huh?
I said hat tip Tyler.
Dude, I didn't have more than like 2 hits that year, and like they had me out in an outfield because I was a good defender. I could pitch. Couldn't hit the ball to save my life. They just were like, "We'll send you out here. You're gonna walk. You're gonna get hit, or you're gonna strike out, and we're just gonna be fine with it."
Mm-hmm.
He doubled up on me on the the hit by pitches total in one game.
You had 7 straight, right? And then got an 8th one, and then that was it from there.
Yeah, 7 in one game. I'm like. I know he had to be sore after that game. I know he had to.
Did not get a hit, I don't think, but he ended up with a 692 on base percentage to end the weekend. So can't hate it.
No, that's taking one for the team and then some.
I think after the first game, he had like an 800 plus on base percentage. I mean, gotta love it.
I just want people at home to understand. Imagine this hitting you 7 times in one game.
At least 80, high 80s plus.
Yeah.
Depending on if it was a curveball or off speed.
If I was in that kid's shoes, I would be claiming workers' comp right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's going to be. No ice bath is going to save me from the pain that's going to put me in.
Yeah. No, terrible. The other thing I want to talk about too is the awakening of 2 freshmen that really put their names on the board. You mentioned one already, AJ Gracia from Duke. And then Drew Burris from Georgia Tech. Both those guys just absolutely went on a tear this weekend. What do you got on those guys?
Yeah, Burris is obviously one of the highest ranked prep guys last year.
Yeah.
Comes in and immediately hits 3 home runs to the opposite field. We knew he had a bunch of power coming in. I think the biggest question mark going into the draft was the hit tool. Yeah. Still yet to, it's just one weekend. We're not going to try and overlook it or overhype it per se. But that was pretty impressive. I will say I'll give him that much. And try and think of another freshman, not Gracia, but like James Elwinger is touching 100 at Dallas Baptist. Trent Caraway did a really, really good job with Oregon State out in Arizona this week too. I know he had at least like a triple, 2 homers. Then of course Travis Bazzana is in that lineup, and he's finally hitting balls at his eyeballs.
Yeah.
I don't know where you can pitch him anymore, to be quite honest with you. I think you just got to start throwing it into the crowd and just hope and pray he doesn't have like some robotic arm that tries to hit everything within 50 feet of the plate.
Please don't hit this. Please don't hit. That's what you basically do when you throw to Travis Bazzana.
And if you hear contact, you know you're screwed.
One guy I was going to mention, you were talking about freshman. He had a few walks today, but Cade Anderson made his debut for LSU, went 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts. Off-speed stuff looked really good, and the fastball was great. I mean, it was sitting probably in the kind of close to mid-90s, probably upper like 92 to 94, but he was touching 95 a few times. Just really impressed to watch his start today. It was really good.
Yeah, I had somebody text me. It's like, hey, Cade Anderson's 94, 95 right now. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you.
Yeah, he was just. I mean, it was not a great team that he's faced. It was Central Arkansas, but it was pretty impressive for his first start in that stage. It's cool to watch.
Yeah, and not to mention LSU had 27 runs and 27 hits
something
yesterday
stupid.
against VMI. Like, yeah, this LSU team's pretty good, even if it's inferior opponents. But
Yeah,
they'll
Jared
get a
Jones went
big
yard again. Shocker.
yeah.
Like apparently that's all he does. So
Well, I mean, he has 80 grade raw juice, so I mean, like that doesn't
yeah,
not a big shocker.
yeah. But he's he's had 3 home runs this weekend, 7 RBI, no big deal.
Yeah, just
Sorry
a casual weekend.
What about Jake Brown hitting 600 for the weekend?
Converted pitcher Jake Brown.
Have a day. Yeah, 4-0 LSU. Shocker. No one's shocked. We'll leave it at that. We wanted to get into some live look breakdowns. That's something we really want to start doing in the podcast. Tyler's going to be out at stadiums. We're going to have other analysts from Prospects Live out at stadiums. I'll be going out to some games. So we want to just break down some footage for you as well. But before we break down some footage, we have to talk about the Burke Granger situation. I know you wanted to touch on this. Give people a little bit of background on kind of what happened there.
Yeah, no, I did say I would have choice words on this. So, Jared, I hope you have your popcorn ready.
I don't. Sorry, I got this.
Okay, well, okay. Enjoy your non-alcoholic beer while I rant here. But for anyone that doesn't know, Burke Granger does Midwest coverage for D1 baseball. Absolutely lovely dude. I have had many great experiences with him. Really, really fun to talk to. He drove, I think, 7-8 hours from Ohio to come and watch Wake Forest because he wanted to see all those arms. You know, Hartle, Burns, Massey, and then all of a sudden his own footage gets copyrighted from I think Raycom. And for those that don't know, Raycom is a partner with, I think, the CW. CW and the ACC has a agreement because the ACC does have games shown through them. Shout out NC State for being 8-1 on CW recordings, by the way. I'm going to put that out there right now. But yeah, choice words. It's fucking bullshit. That's like the easiest way I can put this. We've already had our own issues with like trying to get credit for our own videos. Like just a couple weeks ago, I called out Rob Blank on Twitter because of the fact that he took Josh Norris's Chase Burns videos and not only manipulated it, but then didn't give credit at all in the thread. It's insane.
I think I have an issue with it because if it was a copyright issue where it was like he was screenshotting it from the ACC network or whatever it was on and then posting it as like it was his own, that's a different story, right? Mm-hmm. But he's going to the stadium, he's taking the time to travel out there, he's allowed to film the games. Like there shouldn't be any reason why he should not be able to push and circulate his own footage that he went out and got. And he got better vantage points and views that you would get than you would get on the ACC network. Then it's like, if you're going to take his clips off, then put a better product out for people.
Yeah, no. And like, I think this is really driven by the fact that he got 1 million views on Twitter and he had one of the best camera angles I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, that's genuinely what I think it is. Like I mentioned, he drove 7-8 hours from Ohio just to take this video, and then all of a sudden it's taken down because some guy decided to get egotistical in his fucking office space, essentially.
And I watched those Wake games. The camera footage was awful.
It wasn't great. But like I said, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because he busts his ass to go out there and get that film and just basically gets told it's not your video now, it's ours because, so it's copyright misuse. He's already filed a counterclaim. I hope something good comes out of that because that makes me worried about when I go to Wake in a couple weeks to get
the Duke get taken down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like it's other ACC schools. It's just Wake.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really confuses me because if it was a full ACC thing and we had to get a license through them, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
We've had that issue with Prospects Live in the past, I do believe, with Kate videos and whatnot. But like if we need a license to do that for the full ACC thing, okay, cool. I'll happily do that. The fact that it's just specifically one team really grinds my gears
So, of course, like the number one team in the nation, too.
Yeah.
Which is...
And my thing is, the video that Burke did film, like you mentioned, it's one of the best angles I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's good.
And it really gives you an idea of what changes Wake Forest has made to Chase Burns' arsenal. Because really, the one thing that I can recall was that Tennessee, Chase Burns had more run to that fastball, and I don't want to say it was like a dead zone fastball by any means, but it was like a 18 vert, 11 horizontal fastball. Now it's straight up like cut ride, and there's no way anybody's touching this thing at all. Like it might be an 8 fastball. And the angle he had showed it perfectly. Like you could see the cut coming in from the first inning.
And if you're a scout that can't get out to a game, like that footage is huge for you. You want to see that. That's the whole point of why we do this. It's like we love it, but also it helps other teams and people who are trying to analyze these players. Having that footage out there helps. Having the good angles where you could actually see where the strike zone is versus it being like low to the ground and then all of a sudden it looks like everything's a strike even though the camera angle is completely wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's what people don't realize is how valuable this footage is.
Yeah.
My footage, Josh Norris's footage, Burke's footage, everybody in this industry has value with what they put out on the internet. It is a detriment to college baseball. You're not helping grow the game that, deserves to be on a platform that it should be. And it's also a detriment to the people that go out and do this. Burke has a separate job. I have a separate job. Josh, he works for Baseball America. He doesn't have anything else really going on, but like this is all of us just going out there trying to do what we can to help teams, coaches, all that.
Yeah.
And now we're getting fucked over by some person in a cubicle in Charlotte because they couldn't get a better angle than what Burke did.
Yeah.
It's egregious. I think it's stupid. I hope that counterclaim really does do wonders for what is to come, honestly, because it wasn't Burke's video that got taken down. I think Griffin Landfear, who works with, 247 Sports and covers just about everything Wake Forest does, had his own video taken down. And I'm sitting here, it's like he covers the fucking team. That doesn't make any sense.
None at all. And
then you're going after Pitching Ninja, who's sharing Burke's video, getting him the exposure he deserves.
Yeah.
And now that's being taken down too. And Rob's doing a fantastic job covering the college aspect of this now.
Yeah, and he's bringing so much light to the game that wasn't there before.
Like what Rob was doing was exactly what baseball needs at the college level. And Burke's doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. Griffin's doing the same thing. Everybody involved in this is doing something positive for the game of baseball.
Yeah.
To have somebody go in, just copyright claim something that's not theirs, it's egregious. It's bullshit. And there needs to be something done about it.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that D1 or like even Wake Forest should get involved with this and at least file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It really pisses me off. Yeah. And Burke was pretty upset about it. I spoke with him.
As he should be.
Yeah. I texted him after he posted the first thing about it being taken down. And he's driving home. He felt helpless. And I'm trying to do what I can to try and help him out. It's really, really bad for the college game personally. And I can go on for hours about this personally. Put me in the fucking courtroom with Burke and everyone else in the lawsuit. I'm the defense lawyer. Literally all I have to do is just show you that this is positive for the fucking game. If you don't like it, take your shit, move out.
Yep.
You shouldn't be, if you're going to be doing that, you shouldn't be covering or providing the coverage for the game.
Yeah.
At all. It's stupid.
Yeah. And on that note, hopefully no one takes our podcast down as we're going to have some live looks and video that you went out and got this weekend. So
if Raycom takes this shit down, I will happily drive down to Charlotte and slap all of them across the face.
Love it. So I think we're maybe just going to do one potential live look breakdown. Just spend a few minutes on this. I don't know how many you want to do. But I got the Tyler Bremner video uploaded. You want me to put it on my end?
Yeah, go for it.
Get it going for you. Let's see here. And if you are listening to the podcast, go to the YouTube channel because you can't see us do a live look breakdown on the podcast. You can hear us, But if you want to see the full thing, make sure you check out the YouTube channel, Prospects Live. You can get all the video and the film and the footage that Tyler worked so hard to get this weekend, and then the breakdowns that are happening on this podcast as well. So,
yep. And even when we do like the live looks pieces later on this week, the way that I'm kind of breaking it down is you get a screenshot of the report that I wrote out. The link to the video is embedded inside the article itself, and then you'll get like a draft grade underneath. So like for Bremner example, this is exactly what you're going to see on the piece. I'm not going to fully like show off what the report is, but you see the velo there, 93, 96, top down 97. This is really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
The biggest knock on him last year was not holding the velo, and then the slider wasn't great. Now he opened up, I think, just sitting 95, 96. He did get taken yard here. Lawson Harrell got I think it was a hanging slider and took it to dead central. But the slider looks a lot better. He's commanding it well. It's 82 to 86, good spin rates, has some late bite and sweep that really is good for getting chases. There's the home run, by the way. It was a launch pad this week at Bowie's Creek too. That was the first one of two that he sent to dead center for what it's worth. But like with Bremner, the slider wasn't great last year. He's added more bite to it. It looks better. He's commanding it well. He's landing it for strikes. The fastball, he's holding the velo, which is good. 93, 96. He touched 97 twice in the second inning.
Oof.
It's
Nice
got some
there.
Yes.
Good bite.
Oh yeah. The big thing with the fastball is I would like to see a more consistent shape with it. He does vary shape where he has a lot of run down at the knees and not a ton of vertical. So it's kind of like a two-seam or a sinker. And then he'll elevate with like 20 inches of vertical and like 15 inches of run. It is really, really good at the top of the zone. He'll mix in that slider and change it pretty often.
Yeah.
The changeup, I think, is probably his best pitch. It is low 80s, high spin, really, really tumbles and fades off of the fastball very well. And he's got confidence to throw it against righties. He throws it well against lefties, lands it for strikes. So you don't really see a guy throw strikes with changeup much and land it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing with him is improving the fastball shape and then also getting that arm on time. There is an open side view in this video at the end where it does show you the mechanics from the open side. The arm is probably parallel with his shoulder when his foot plants at the bottom of the mountain there. That does cause some timing issues. But you look at the delivery, it's effortless, it's athletic.
Just gonna say
it is.
He repeats itself. Like he doesn't really deviate from it, no matter what pitch is being thrown.
Mm-hmm. He matches the iron speed on a changeup really well. There's a lot of like with this package. And yes, he walked 4 guys. We mentioned it before. The tight strike zone really didn't help. There's a few pitches on the black that really should have been strikes. And there's a couple of times where he got shafted on that front. But it's just how baseball goes. You're not going to have a consistent strike zone every single game. I wish that was the case, but c'est la vie. That's just how it is.
And I don't mean to harp on like the reason why we get this footage, but like you can see the slider shape so well from this angle, right? You can't get that when you're, no offense to Raycon or whatever the other companies are, but like the ability to see that shape and the bite to that pitch on film is the reason why we try to get these angles.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's exactly it. Like, and the best part about this is there wasn't anybody knocking the camera over this year. I don't mean to hark on Campbell fans. I love them. They are very, very hyped and they really love their baseball team. But there's a little railing in front of where this camera is, this location that
you can see people walking by and kind of shaking it.
I'd rather have that than what they were doing before, where they're knocking my camera around like it's a toy. So like, yeah, I counted like 50 people walking by the camera in one game, but I don't have to like put a first aid kit on my camera, which is great. But yeah, like Tyler Bremner, this is a guy that's going to be a potential first rounder next year, I think. if he keeps this up, he's holding the velo. The slider looks as impressive as it has been. I think he's got a legitimate case to be the best college arm in next year's class.
Yeah. And for all of you who want to get more of this film and footage, be sure to go to the Prospects Live YouTube, as we mentioned earlier. Tyler's already got the Bremner clip uploaded. Matt Ager from UC Santa Barbara has also uploaded his start. Derek Vartanian and Zach Sabers, and it's going to have some Zander Darby footage coming your way soon too. And so when all our analysts go and get these live looks and spend that time at the stadium to put the scouting reports together, to get the footage that is really helpful to you all, they all go on that YouTube channel. They're all free to access for everybody. So anytime you want to go see prospects, and especially after your team drafts someone, if you want to go check out footage, we're always going to have tons of different draft picks that you can go and take a look at.
Yep, absolutely. And we have everything like divvied up in playlists too. So like Bremner's going to be a 2025. He's in the 2025 playlist. Everyone else is in the 2024 playlist. And then we'll start working on a 2026 playlist at some point. Because we have an idea of what the college guys are, at least, and we're starting to get a better idea of the prep class, but I'm not fully into that yet.
Yeah.
I'd rather focus on 2024 right now and then get 2025 up soon and just see how everything else goes this year. And a little disclaimer too, because obviously the Derek Vartanian start wasn't the greatest. He allowed 10 runs in 2 2/3. Just not the kind of start you would expect from a guy that was highly touted through the spring, or not the spring, but the fall. But it's really all about showing off the stuff. Yeah. Essentially. Yes, it's a bad outing. He got lit up. But like
box score doesn't say everything though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I want to give people an understanding of what the stuff looks like in game.
Yeah.
And like even Vartanian, like he was 92-95 to start and then got shafted by 2 errors from his infielders, gave up a home run on a hanging slider. You can see all of that in the film. Now the 89-91, he was in the second. You won't obviously see the velo readings, but he did dip a little bit into that second inning, and it wasn't the greatest. But like it's his first start. Just came in from JUCO. There's better starts ahead for him.
But yeah, so we're going to try to do more of these live look breakdowns on the podcast. We're going to bring more analysts on who are seeing live games across the U.S. Just to really give you an idea of like what we're seeing and what teams are seeing when they go look at these players. So we think it's a cool segment that we want to keep doing. And so we'll try to keep doing it weekly. Sometimes it takes us a while to upload the video. So and if it takes us a long time to upload some of the video, we'll put it on future podcasts and things like that. But we have to get in to the last segment before we turn it over to our interview, because we have another incredible guest this week. Are you ready? During that process.
Huh?
Oh, you're back. All right.
Yes.
So we are on the clock. Of course, we're going to have a lot of questions related to week 1. First question is, what was the most impressive performance this week for a hitter for you?
Can I go Zander Darby?
Yeah, you can.
3 home runs from a guy you really wouldn't expect to have the kind of power that he had this weekend. I think it was like 106, 101, and 104 off the bat for all 3. And they all went like 414, 440. I was pretty impressed by that. I think he was the best bat in Bowie's Creek this weekend. And I think if there's anybody that's really going to come close, or at least top that, like Travis Bazzana out in Arizona had an insane weekend. Charlie Condon, like, the top guys that you expect this kind of stuff from. Darby kind of shocked me a little bit with how good he is. And I think once we put our combined 200 out, he's going to be well represented up there in like the 70 to 90 range.
Yeah, mine was Griffin Burkholder from Virginia. Hit 500 this weekend, hit 2 home runs, 6 RBI. Like, I watched a few of the Virginia games. It's impossible to get that guy out.
Oh, yeah. And like he didn't have his first home run last year wasn't until regional play?
Yeah.
And he's got 2 this weekend.
If he's tapped into that power,
drug test him.
We're not calling that out on the podcast.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke. But like, hey, I think he's made a swing change personally. Yeah. It definitely looks a lot better than what it was, and he's going to tap into pretty good power at this point. If he continues this year, I think he's going to be at least a second rounder, maybe even back at first.
Yeah. All right. Who's your pitcher?
Ooh, this is a good one. There was not a lot of good pitching this weekend.
No.
Admittedly, I think I'm gonna have to do what I. This is a trend for me. Chase Burns.
I knew you were going to go Chase Burns.
Yeah,
I
6 innings.
intentionally didn't go Chase Burns because I knew you were going to pick Chase Burns.
You know me so well.
Yeah.
6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, no runs, 10 strikeouts. Yeah. No, that was pretty good.
Yeah. I went with Mississippi State pitcher Khal Stephan.
Yes.
Purdue transfer. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 11 Ks. Was basically sitting in the mid 90s. Topped out at 97 with a fastball. Wasn't on my radar. Like, not a guy I even thought of. And then I saw Joe Doyle tweet about him, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy might be legit.
Yeah, no. Shout out Joe, by the way.
Yeah.
Love the guy, but Khal Stephan's going to be on our board. I do believe if he continues, he's the pop-up guy this year. I do believe so.
It'll be interesting to see SEC play if he's got the same abilities. I mean, if you're sitting mid 90s with a fastball, I gotta imagine
if he does,
yep, skyrocketing up the board.
Yep,
love it. Next question. So, which pitcher has the best chance to bounce back from the rough start this week? You just talked about how a few guys had some really bad starts.
Hagen Smith, I think, is a guy that's going to bounce back. He really didn't look good in the 1 inning he got. I think he walked 2, got hit around a little bit, gave up a home run on the third batter of the game. He's going to be facing a really tough Oregon State lineup with Bazzana, Turley, Caraway, Casper. But I feel like if you get the bad start out of the way immediately, success is to follow. I mentioned Vartanian. I think Hagen Smith's is due for a better weekend this time out. So I'm going to go with Hagen on this one.
Yeah, I went with Thatcher Hurd. He kind of got lit up this weekend. 2 2/3, I think, 4 earned, 5 hits, 4 strikeouts, only 1 walk. I gotta imagine the stuff's too good for him not to just come back and bounce back.
Yeah, and the command questions really were not answered by many of these guys at the top of the board this weekend too. Brody Brecht walked 6, even though he only allowed 1 hit and struck out 11. Obviously, Hagen didn't do well. I think really the only person that answered questions this weekend was Chase Burns.
Yeah.
And even some of the 2025s too did a really, really good job as well. I think you should give some praise to that class. Looks really, really good right now.
Yeah.
Even though Sam Horn, who was really valued highly coming into the year, is not going to be pitching anytime soon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I will say 2025's Jack O'Connor did not pitch well this weekend.
But Cam Leiter did 13 Ks in 5 innings. Yeah, sir, that is disgusting.
Nasty.
He looked really, really good. And
actually,
I think
he should have got more love for the most impressive pitcher this week.
Dude, he's going to be the freaking dark horse for ACC pitcher of the year, I think.
Just add all the Lighters to a list. They just breed pitchers, apparently.
He is the cousin of Jack.
Yeah, that he is. Love it. So what team made the most noise for you this weekend?
Duke. Definitely Duke.
That was going to be my answer, too.
I mean, you go into Coastal, you handle Indiana Coastal, and those are 2 really, really good teams. Indiana's got Omaha potential. Coastal, year in, year out, is one of the best teams in the country. Going 3-0 in dominating fashion, Duke for me, personally.
Yeah. It's not like you were at LSU, we were playing, Virginia Military Institute and Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
No offense to them and their 4-0 record right now, but you're facing a completely different competition when you're Duke going against Indiana and that pitching staff plus Coastal Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to not go against anybody else there. Last question I got on the board. Who jumps ranks the most for you after week 1? A team and a player.
A team? I would probably say Campbell definitely jumps up the board the most for me. Having UCSB come in and thrash them game 1 and they come back and win the next 2, that's really impressive. And like we mentioned, this is a Campbell team that's retooled. They were out on the outside of the top 25. I think they should have been ranked this week. That's just my opinion on it. Justin Hare is an incredible coach. In terms of a player, probably Khal Stephan. This is a guy that really, we mentioned already, no idea who he was going into this. And now all of a sudden he's bumping 7s, striking out 11 across 7 innings and looks really, really good. Keep it up this year. Hi, you're going to be a top 100 pick. I can totally see that happening at this point.
Yeah. I kind of went for a dark horse team that not one I would think will jump into the top 25, but I think they're going to start getting some attention around them after this weekend. And it's Grand Canyon University. Went 3-0, beat Georgetown, beat USC, beat BYU, and they kind of beat USC pretty handedly, 8-1. Andy Stankiewicz did not do well in that against his old team. So it's just kind of cool to see a mid-major like that play some big-name teams and come out undefeated.
Not to mention Jacob Wilson and Homer Bush last year. That's a very underrated program right now. I think Zach York is doing really, really well for the fact that he's basically just someone that could be on the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line right now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Daniel Avidia, really underrated fastball, too. So,
yeah,
I really like that team. I think that's a really, really good dark horse pick, in my opinion.
And then for player, I didn't really – it was kind of hard to pick someone. I mean, I could easily go Zander Darby, right? Kind of get overlooked a little bit. But I went with Peyton Tolley. I think he really performed well. On the mound, he gave up 4 earned runs, but still went 3 innings, struck out 7. And then he also did it with a bat, going 4 for 13 with a home run, 5 RBIs, and a double. I just think he's a guy who's going to sneak his way up draft boards throughout the season. I think he's kind of a dark horse to be one of the top players just because of what he's able to do on both sides of the ball. And just with TCU making him the Friday night guy and all those fun things. He's a guy, I think, we have him at the back end of the top 100. I think he could be finding his way into the middle to like the near top 25 at some point.
Not to mention, really good dude.
Yep. Awesome dude. That basically does it for us. We have an incredible interview with the top 100 prep prospect, Griffin Burkholder, coming up right after this. As we mentioned, be sure to check out all the amazing content. All the draft team, everybody from the draft team is putting together for Prospects Live. Everybody's working really hard, driving out to games, like you said, going out there for hours, sitting through hours worth of game. I mean, we love being there. Don't get us wrong, but taking time out of their day when they work full-time jobs to really bring us, bring all of you this amazing content. So be sure to check out everything they were doing. Tyler, you got anything before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, you mentioned everybody driving out. I want to give a shout out to everybody on the team. They did an awesome job this weekend. Jake Bargery, he only got 1 game, but he did a fantastic job with his video this weekend. He's a new guy, so I want to give him a shout out. And we had not this past podcast, I think, but the podcast before that, where I talked about the Stutter Group conference that we're going to be having on March 2nd here in Raleigh. I think I said Parkview Elementary School. I've actually got the correct name for the school now. So if anybody's in the Raleigh area listening, it's Partnership Magnet Elementary School down in downtown Raleigh. 9:30 a.m. is when everything starts. I'll be there early to help out, get set up and everything. I'm also going to be working with the kid group that we're going to be doing in the early morning. And then we're also going to have an adult panel that I'm part of later on in the day. So if there's anybody that's interested, contact me. I've got the link to get everything set up. It's $30 if you're an adult who stutters, or I think it's like for a family, it's probably like, I think $55 or for the full family. So got any young kids in the area that want to, get more confidence with stuttering, feel free to come by, drop by. We're going to have a lot of fun with these guys. And I'm really excited to be part of it. It's a fun activity. It's going to be a fun day. I really love doing this, and it would be a disservice if I didn't bring it up. There is
what date is it again?
March 2nd.
All right. We'll make sure to put the links in the chat too. So everybody, if you're interested, you can just click the link below and it'll get you there.
Yep. And I'll tweet about it either the Thursday or Friday, the day before, just to see if anybody else would like to join. But it would mean a lot if there's some people that do ask about it, or at least like bring it up. Trying to think, Patrick Ebert, the guy that works for D1, was at Campbell this week and he asked about it.
That's cool.
That was a good conversation with him. I really like Patrick. He does a fantastic job. Give him a follow as well. Really, really enjoyed the time with him this weekend with what he had. That's really all I got at this point.
Love it. And just a reminder, we'll be coming at you weekly. So we will be doing weekend recaps, either Sunday nights or Monday nights, and trying to drop the episodes by Tuesday or Wednesday to kind of go through things with you and some footage and all that fun stuff. So until next time, here's that interview with Griffin Burkholder. Alrighty, we have another incredible interview here today with On the Clock by Prospects Live. We have Griffin Burkholder, outfielder at Freedom High School out of South Riding, Virginia. Griffin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. We're excited to have you on and kind of share your journey. First question we always ask guys, just because a lot of people don't know who you are quite yet, but give a little bit of background on yourself, how you've gone through your journey in amateur baseball, and just some of the things you love to do outside the game as well.
Yeah, so obviously my name's Griffin Burkholder. I'm a senior here at Freedom High School in South Riding, Virginia. So lived in the Northern Virginia area my whole life, never moved. So kind of used to this area, been in the same house my whole life. But yeah, going through amateur baseball, I played on more of a local organization from time I was 7 to 12U. It's called the Wild and South Eagles here in the area, and then went in 13U when we went up to the big field, went to more of a bigger organization in the area called Stars Baseball, went to some of the national tournaments, but also played in some local stuff. And then in 16U, transferred over to Dirtbags, and that was an amazing choice for me, just continuing to face better and better competition every year and continue to better myself. And I was never super highly ranked nationally coming up. Highly ranked in Virginia for a couple of years, but it was really this past year that kind of catapulted me up in those rankings. So it's been a blessing and been a great ride, and just excited to start this high school season here with a great team and hopefully make a run.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that kind of as the next question. When was that? When did it click for you that you're like, okay, I'm going to go play D1 baseball. I have a chance to get drafted to the MLB. When did that kind of all settle in for you?
So with committing to play in college, I committed pretty early. I committed back in my freshman year, kind of in the beginning part of that year. So I always knew that that was my goal. I wanted to go play Division I baseball, and I was really going to do whatever it took to reach that goal. And the opportunity arose, and I took it with West Virginia, and they've been great to me before I committed, since I've been committed, staying in touch and everything. So they've been great, and yeah, with being able to kind of realize that, hey, it might be a chance to get drafted here in this coming draft. It's been amazing. I really noticed that probably this past summer. I went down, like I said, I wasn't super highly ranked nationally, so wasn't exactly on my radar too much. And then was blessed with an invite to go to East Coast Pro down in Alabama, and performed really well down there against some of the top talent in the nation. And just being able to go down there and kind of prove myself was great. And from there on, it's kind of been crazy, but it's been a great ride, and I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, I love it. So you mentioned that you committed to West Virginia. What went into that decision? Was it kind of talking with family or wanting to stay kind of close to home? What went into that decision for you?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things that went
Yeah.
into that decision, and it was definitely, I mean, to this day, it's been an amazing decision, and can't say that there was any part of it that was wrong. So my mom's side of the family is from West Virginia, so they still live in West Virginia. So that was kind of one big factor, is that I've been hanging out in West Virginia like pretty much once a year for however many years that I've been going up there. But yeah, so that's part of it, just the family tie to the state. And even though they don't live too close to Morgantown, I mean, if you live in West Virginia, you're usually a Mountaineer fan. So that was really cool when they started calling, and I found out that that could be an opportunity. And then just the coaching staff and how amazing they are, making the atmosphere around the team, and that family atmosphere was really important to me. And then also just the fan base that West Virginia has. I mean, you have an entire state behind you. You have huge crowds, even if it's a scrimmage game at the beginning of the year. So just having that support around you, having the great staff around you, coaches, players, and then also just making sure that also I want my family to be able to come watch me play. So that was also important. But yeah, having all those things kind of all stars aligned almost, and decided to pull the trigger on that.
That's awesome. Tyler, turn over to you.
Yeah, I did want to ask, because you mentioned going to East Coast Pro. You had also did the 2024-2025 event in Milwaukee. I think it was September or something. And I remember watching the film, and you ran like a 6.29 60, looked really, really good in BP. That was my first taste of like you kind of jumping onto the map there. Kind of talk about that event, because I know I had a guy that Smitty used to work for us, but he works with PBR now. But from a player standpoint, how was that event for you?
That was a really cool event, maybe the coolest event that I've been to. I mean, you show up that first day and they have everything set up with the player lounge, and you're walking through a million different rooms, getting handed a bunch of gear, and you're never going to complain about that as a player. But yeah, prep baseball put on an amazing event. Go in there and I mean, yeah, you walk in and you're handed a couple bags and you're looking through and you got all this cool gear, all American stuff and custom stuff. So that was really cool. And then being able to play in a big league stadium is just really cool in general. It was my first time ever getting to play an actual game in a big league stadium. And so took us on kind of a tour of the stadium that first night, and then had the workout day the next day, which is where probably all the film that you saw was from, and was able to perform really well at the workout, and then go out and have fun the next day playing in a big league park against the top players from the 24 and 25 classes. It was a really fun event. Met some great guys, learned a lot from guys, and still stay in touch with some of those teammates to this day.
That's awesome. Was there any 2025 arm that gave you fits from that game? If you don't mind me asking, like, who was the toughest guy you faced from that?
Toughest guy I faced was definitely Josh Hammond, right-handed, committed to Wake Forest, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, I got to face him after he had just struck out the two guys before me. So he was kind of, I guess you could say, on fire going into my at bat, had a lot of energy, but it was a good fight. Was able to foul off some pitches and battle in that count. But I mean, yeah, he was great energy, great guy to compete against. And it was a lot of fun, but he ended up getting me at the end of the at bat.
Was it his slider that got you?
It was, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I don't think I was the only one there. Definitely not.
I don't think you're ever going to be the only kid with the slider that he has, man. That thing is gnarly. I did want to ask about the speed aspect, because having a 6'2", 960 is really impressive. Do you do anything like sprint workouts or anything, or do you participate in track that kind of helps with that kind of speed?
So I don't participate in track, but I train my speed a lot. Ever since my freshman year, really the first time I ran a 60, I was kind of like, oh, this is something that I'm good at. Speed is kind of a big part of my game. So kind of took it from there and ran with it, which is ironic. But yeah, I train my speed 3 times a week. So I'm running hill sprints. I'm doing sled work. I'm doing short sprints for those first couple steps. I'm doing longer tempo runs so that I can run longer distances, whether it's tracking a fly ball down in a game or running a 60 in an event like that. So I focus a lot on my speed along with power and all of that in the weight room. But yeah, speed is definitely really important to me in my game, and a point where I can kind of take an advantage over teams and over pitchers and kind of almost rattle a pitcher by them just knowing that I'm on base. So being able to take those little advantages is really important.
Absolutely. Become the menace that you always want to be on the base. That's my motto. So one more question, just because I was a track kid growing up. I don't know if you've heard the name Nyheim Hines before. Plays running back for the Colts, or played for the Colts, and is now with the Bills now. He was a track teammate of mine in high school. So he was definitely one of the fastest kids I've ever ran against. Do you think you'd have a chance against an actual NFL running back by chance?
Oh, I don't know. There's some fast running backs. I think maybe some of the power runners, maybe I could probably beat out. But I mean, there are some definitely good athletes, power athletes, and so I'd like to have that race. I think that would be really fun competing against some of those guys. Where I mean, running is their job, so it'd be kind of fun, but definitely a competition.
Definitely. Jared, you got any other questions?
Yeah, I was going to kind of build off of you training on the running side of things, but as you kind of look forward to this 2024 season, what aspects of your game that are you really trying to improve on, and what are some of your goals for this year?
So goals this year, I mean, the ultimate goal is winning a state championship, being able to celebrate that last game after my high school career ends, just being able to leave on that note, winning a state championship 2 years ago and kind of my first year fully on varsity, and then losing the state semifinals last year. So gotten a lot of taste of that environment, and once you get there, it's all right. You're only successful if you make it there again. So that's really the main goal, is just to be a leader on the team, to motivate everybody and just go to war with my guys every day. So that's the main goal as a team. But for myself personally, as I move into this year, just as I continue to face great pitching and better pitching every single year, just continuing to develop that approach, continuing to take better at bats every single day, and continue to learn more about my swing, make the little tweaks here and there. No too big differences that I'm trying to make in my swing right now, but just go out there and compete really well, have some great at bats, and continue to learn more about my game every day.
I love it. The last question I always ask guys. So to get your mind off of baseball, what are some of the things you love to do outside the game?
So I hang out with my friends a lot. Right now, I made the decision to be in friends with a lot of people from the class above me. So all my friends seem to be off at college right now, and the baseball guys that I hang out with all the time. But so I call them a ton. I hang out with them. I play some video games with them. Not the best video game player at all, but I mean, it's a lot of fun, even when you're losing, when you're with your friends, talking about life, talking about school, whatever that might be going on. So that's one thing. Just, I mean, weightlifting, that's something that I really enjoy. Helps me out on the field, but also just being able to kind of unwind after a day, going there and not to worry about any externals, whether it's school, whether it's whatever you might have to do that day homework wise. So being able to go in there and just push myself and get after it is stuff that I love to do. And luckily it's something that helps my game as well. So getting multiple good things out of it.
Amazing. I love it. Griffin, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the clock. We're looking forward to your season upcoming and wishing you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me.